Hopefully these notifications don't pop up, but they may.
It's okay.
It's all right.
So we are live.
So you guys, we want to welcome you to this edition of Conjure Crew. So many things have changed. Shishi has moved to Germany. So we're switching days and times because we want to make sure 100% that y'all can see her, get her opinion, and it's important to us that she's included in all this too. And Shishi, I want to talk with you about doing some international readings, like early in the day, so we can go ahead and do some collabs. But
Yeah.
the reason that we're talking today is because, and look, I'm already getting choked up. Lynna brought Yoda home today because a lot of you don't know that I lost him last month on the 16th, to be exact. And I think I'll never forget that day. He died in my arms. And so after that happened, of course, I immediately went into grief. And it was like for a week because, of course, your familiar is a part of your family. That is just your person. And Yoda was my person, and I was his person. So, and Voodoo is putting in his 2 cents too. Is that all you want to say? Can you let him out the back door because he's going to keep talking? So, I had so many people reach out to me that lost their familiars in 2020 because not only did we lose our people, we lost our familiars. And people were like, I'm struggling. I'm grieving. I don't know how to elevate an animal. I don't know what is the right thing to do. I don't know what we're supposed to do. So Lynna came up with the idea to share this, which I think is really good. Because I was going to elevate Yoda anyway, but now I get to share that with everyone that's watching. Shishi has 2 familiars. Lynna has
a lot.
Over 10.
No, 9.
9? I thought she had over 10.
3 dogs, 6 cats.
I couldn't do it. So God bless her, because one snatched my soul. One snatched my soul. So we want to talk today about what familiars are, what they bring to our life, what we bring to their lives, and unfortunately, when it comes time to sever those.
It's not severing. It's when they move to the next level. We don't sever. You're familiar.
I couldn't even say it. So you're right. So you guys, bear with me. I didn't want to get emotional, but I think what's happening is today with him coming home, it is the physical aspect of it ends for me, because for the last 3 weeks, I've been leaving the door open and waiting for him to come home. And so today, he did come home, and I'm still trying to make peace with that. This is my new normal with him, and I am so grateful. I have to, before we start, because I don't want this to be about tears, because he was such a good friend. He was such a good protector. So I'm going to try to pull it together for him, because he would be looking at me like I was crazy about now if he saw me doing all this. I have to give props to Lynna. The day that he died, I could not get in my car and drive him. I would not have been able to do the crematory. I would not have been able to take him. And Lynna came. I called her up, and she's like, I'm on my way. And she came and she picked him up. It's the first time that he let her pick her up. You got to tell a story.
I finally got to hold him in my arms. It's the first time ever. I tried before, and girl, when a chihuahua bites you, he goes.
he only had about 5 teeth, y'all.
But they were very sharp. They were very sharp. They're like little needles. I had little needle holes in my thumb. Remember? Was I even gonna pick? I don't remember what it was, but I had to pet him with one hand because if you put the other hand down, he thinks you're gonna pick him up and he attacks you.
Mm-hmm. He never let anybody pick him up but me, Jazz, and Jordan. And it was one of those things where when she picked him up, I had him wrapped up in his blanket, his dog blanket with his toys and everything. And she's like, this is the first time that Yoda is allowing me to go over his dead body to pick her up. And then she came in and brought all this food and everything, which was such a blessing. And I love you. And I thank you so much for everything. Because when you lose a pet, it literally is the same thing. Like it didn't feel any different from losing a friend or losing a family member. And I know people who've gone through this, know how this feels. It's grief. And 2020 was a year of accumulative grief for a lot of people, whether it was relationship ending or actual physical transitions. It was such a hard year. And I think Yoda was like the icing of the cake because he was only 8. So Chihuahuas live to be 18, 19 years old. They do. They live a long life. So I had thought Yoda and I were going to grow old together. To be honest, I thought I was going to go before he was. I really did. So it's one of those things where we come in and we have to adjust to life without our familiars. So let's get into what a familiar is, because we're throwing the word out there. A lot of people say my pet, my dog, or you call your animal by their name. But what is a familiar? Now, Shishi has 2 beautiful familiars, so I'm going to let you open up with that.
Well, some people look at it 2 different ways because familiars have been defined differently, of course, throughout history. But in most cases, when it comes to witches, a familiar was a practitioner or a witch that came back in the form of an animal to help other practitioners, other witches. For me, my cats were definitely witches. Only 2 people have seen my strongest familiar in her human form. But they're there to help you and guide you through your spiritual path, your spiritual journey. Usually your familiar will be there when you're doing spells, creating something to do with magic, as they tend to also protect the practitioner as well. They're protectors, they're guiders, they're guides with you through your spiritual path. So they end up being more than just a pet. They're your friend, they're your family, and the connection is deep. The connection is deep. It's like a bond. So you know something is wrong with your familiar, and your familiar will always know when something is wrong with you. Sometimes they'll know something is wrong with you before you know something is wrong with you. So they're your spirit animal. They're your connection to spirit in many cases as well. So that for me is the definition of a familiar. So I could not imagine what you're going through. So I'm truly, truly sorry that you've lost your familiar. And the ties are never gone from your familiar, as they are never truly gone. So yeah.
It's so true. It's so weird. I was telling Lynna.
You guys are...
Go ahead, sweeties. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you guys are frozen on my side. I'm like, are you there?
Oh,
okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think you're buffering, but we got you. We got you now, so we can see you clear. It's so weird because I was telling Lynn I was in the kitchen and I looked at the back door and I could have sworn I saw Yoda. So it was like, you're tripping, girl, go to sleep or whatever. But I think what happens with spirit visitations is a lot of times when we lose people, we may dream about them. We may get scents that remind us of them. We may hear barks. I mean, there was times where I was in the shower where I thought he was barking, and I would look out, and then I would have to remind myself that he's physically not there. And the funny thing is, it was probably a week after he passed. I was cleaning and I passed my living room and I saw something brown, a little brown thing sitting on my floor. And I thought it was a rat. And I don't do rodents. So I was like, okay, oh, hell no. But I had the doors open. So I thought maybe a rat or something had came in. So I went in the kitchen. I got the broom because I was going to sweep it out. Go in the living room. I don't see it anymore. So I'm banging on the furniture like, okay, if it's in here, it's going to come out. And I was kind of ready for it. Didn't see anything. So of course I think I'm tripping. You're just tripping. You're hallucinating. You're in grief. You're seeing things. So I walk back by the living room and there's this little miniature Yorkshire Terrier just sitting in front of my TV looking at TV. And the first thing I was like, oh, hell no, spirit. No. No. I'm not going to get another animal. I'm not going to get another dog. Take this dog. I went outside. I picked the dog up. I'm like, okay, look, go wherever you're supposed to go. And it did belong to the people across the street. But I kind of feel like that was Yoda's way of saying, you're going to love again. You're gonna connect with another animal at some point. And it was like, okay, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. So it was one of those things for confirmation. I think a lot of us either get our familiars by going to shelters and places like that, and you immediately connect with these animals. Sometimes they just show up on your doorstep. And you're like, I don't even know how you got here or who you are. Voodoo was like that.
Mm-hmm. Karma too. Well, Karma was crawling across the street and just got in my car.
What was he crawling for? Is she crawling for?
Well, there was traffic. And so she was crawling across the street and I opened my door and she just got in my car.
Oh, wow. And Karma is a wolf hybrid, right?
No, she's 100%.
Is she 100% wolf? So can you imagine a wolf showing up at your door or showing up at your car? And it's like, take me home. But like she said, it's because they already know their purpose. It's one of those things where we might not understand, but they're coming into our life, like she said, for a reason. And it's because they're supposed to be there.
They're our soulmates. They're soulmates.
They are. And it's one of those things, and it's so comforting. Shishi's familiar is the only one that I have seen in human form.
I haven't.
And I don't even know why. It was like one night she just popped up and I looked and I was like, who are you? And when she told me her name, she was nothing like I pictured.
Like Sophie?
Yeah. She was like I pictured. So I'm sitting up there looking at her. So I immediately, I got to tell you what just happened because it was so weird. But it was really, she was very connected to Shishi, and I think Shishi was going through something at the time. And she didn't give me the details, but she wanted to let me know that she was there. And I think for a familiar to show themselves to other people, it has to be people that they trust. Mm-hmm. So that was an honor for me because I feel like she would not have shown her true self to me if she felt there was anything that she had to protect her against. So for a lot of you guys that are dealing with that energy, when we look at them as animals, a lot of times too, you will dream about them and see them in their true form. And it's hard to unsee once you see them. Sophie, even though I see Sophie as a cat, I see Sophie as who she is. When she comes behind Shishi, I picture her as the way she appeared to me. And very wise, very old soul.
Very bratty and stubborn.
How did you put that together?
So I had wanted a cat, and my sister said we're going to go to the pet store, and yeah, the only other person that has seen Sophie has been Alyssa, because she was like, "Who is this, woman?" And she described her walking in your house by your cats. I was like, "Oh no, that's Sophie. That is Sophie." So it's not a separate
Mhm.
spirit. But we went to PetSmart, and so I said originally I was going to get an all black cat. And I was determined that the cat would look like a Sophie. No matter what, the cat was going to look like a Sophie, I think. I
So
was like,
you
I
already
think I'm
had
going
the
to
name
name her
out.
Sophie, and she's going to look like a Sophie.
Oh.
And so we go in the pet store, and there's my Sophie. And she was the only one in the cage. And I said, why wouldn't anybody want her? She's so cute. And Sophie had the longest legs. She had a really short body, but these really long legs. So she looked like those little stuffed toys that were popular like 4 years back or something. I was like, what a funny looking cat, but she's so cute. And I want to just pet a cat. So I go in there and I'm petting Sophie. Like, why hasn't anyone, taken this kitten? And the lady said, oh, they said she's too needy. And, they didn't want a needy cat. And I was like, I'm in love with her. I have to have her. So I adopt Sophie, and I forgot to get a carrier. So my sister ran in and got a carrier. And we go and let her visit my other sister's cat. And Sophie had us all fooled. The minute we opened that cage, she was gone. So we were chasing her around the house for like an hour trying to catch her to put her back in. So she was the funniest looking little cat, but that's my little love. And I don't have her with me right now because of certain German restrictions, and it's really disconcerting. So yeah, I understand.
For a lot of people,
But
go ahead. Oh, I think the delay is throwing us off too. I think for certain people, especially with COVID, that are having to travel or relocate, and then you're getting the extra restrictions on your animals being able to travel with you, it's really, really hard. Um, she loves her babies, and I've seen how well she takes care of them. So I know that it's heartbreaking to have to walk away, even though it's temporary, because you got to get settled and then bring them on. But babe, I pray for you that it goes faster because I know they miss you too. I definitely know.
yeah, definitely miss them. It's going to be next month. I'm sending my sister back. I'm flying my sister back to go get them.
So what, Lynna, has been your experiences with your familiars?
Oh God, we've had so many animals in and out of our house all the time.
Well, you foster too.
And plus all the puppies.
Yeah. You foster. I couldn't do it. I could not foster. They all would be living with me. I couldn't do it.
Well, if she'll come over here, the perfect person to talk about losing animals is sitting on your couch because she sees it almost on a daily basis.
That is true. Lynna has a daughter, Taylor, that works at a shelter, and the amount of care and love that she shows these animals. Some people, you are just, it's your purpose. You have some people that are literally born into this world, because even people like Lynna that take on a lot of pets, like there's no way I could do nine animals. Period. I just couldn't. Because I would be literally trying to love them all, and if anything happened, I would. You see how I am with one.
Schedule.
Exactly.
Everybody's on a schedule.
It would have to be. It would have to be. But I think, like she said, Taylor, can you come say hi real quick?
Come on.
She's like, no, I ain't doing it.
She works at the shelter, and a lot of times the animals that come in are animals that are hurt. They've been abused, they've been run over, they've been thrown out of cars, and most of them are babies. They're kittens or puppies. The babies are the ones that get hurt the worst. And Taylor will bring them home and feed them with baby bottles and care for them, knowing that they're going to pass. But she
Yeah.
does this because she wants to make their life just a little bit better, even if it's just towards the end.
Yeah.
But she's in therapy. She started today because she's gotten to the point she has compassion fatigue. She just turned 15. It doesn't affect her as much anymore. And so
Yeah.
she's literally, she just started today going to therapy for that. She sees it all the time. And it's like, we love these babies. You love Yoda. I loved Yoda too, even though he's a little fucker. But I still loved him.
Yeah.
And people just, what's wrong with people?
Well, you see it where so many people, they're more compassionate towards animals than they are humans. Let's be honest. Some of us have better relationships with our animals, our pets, than we do with physical people because there's a level of empathy, compassion that is unspoken.
Yeah, they love
Unconditionally. Yeah.
regardless of what you do. They still love you.
There were so many times, you guys, where Yoda wanted to go down the street and hump. And I would be like, no, get your butt in this yard. And he would literally roll his eyes at me. Like, and he would trot back into the house and then he would because he was pissed. So we would have our little arguments. And I'd be like, are you kidding? He was about this big, you guys. Literally, he was about this big. And I was like, are you really trying to argue with me? But he would, and it was because we had an understanding. We communicated in a way that made sense, but it was unconditional love. At the end of the day, even though he was pissed at me, he would come sit in my lap, roll over, and be like, "Rub my belly, bitch.
Well,
Rub my belly," because he knew.
if you lock Yoda in the trunk of a car and you lock your boyfriend in the trunk of the car and you leave them there and then you open the trunk, who's going to be the one that still loves you and licks
I don't
you
know.
and gives you
I don't know.
kisses?
Well, Yoda might still love me, but he would pee all over me.
I
Trust
don't
me.
know. Yoda's finicky.
Unconditionally.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
They don't get.
They do. That's true. But animals are very intelligent. Very intelligent. Very smart.
I think,
Go ahead, babe.
sorry, when I first met Yoda, Tonya was not on a live. I was just talking to Tonya and she picks up Yoda and Yoda was just growling and he had just one tooth out. And I was like, how do you have like one tooth out? And you're like so menacing.
Yes.
He was a ball personality. He was definitely an old man.
And that's why I wanted us to do this live, because he did affect so many people's lives. He was on Tanya's lives all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people knew who Yoda was, and it was like they were saying hi to Yoda more than they were saying hi to you.
I told him, I said, damn, you got a little fan club going on here. He was the people's dog. People knew that he was bitchy. They knew that he was, that whenever I picked him up, he was going to growl. Even in pictures, if you look back at pictures on my page, he's like, I can't believe y'all are looking at me, or I need to do this shit.
Nose is still.
Yeah. This is so beautiful, you guys, because Lynna, when she brought back his ashes, they literally brought back, they did a print of his snout, which was crooked and always turned up. And when I saw this, I just started bawling because this is brother. They gave me his hair. And they actually went ahead and made sure they got the blend of the black and white. And then, y'all, this was it. This was just it. His paw print. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. I had my whole face melt. It went down. But it is, to me, the beauty of celebrating. He was bigger than life to me. He was a little bitty dog, but he thought he was a German Shepherd.
Dynamite comes in small packages.
Yeah, he was amazing. And actually lost her baby Mika, and Ashley reached out to me and she was crying. I could feel the pain. And so she wanted to do a reading to know what was going on with Mika. And people don't realize this: when you divine, you can divine anything. You can connect with anything. So we pulled cards and we connected with Mika. And then I was able to pass on some messages that maybe Ashley, because when you're in grief, sometimes your animal comes back and they want to talk to you. Your baby comes back and they want to have conversations with you because they want to comfort you. And it was amazing that during that time, I was able to say, you know what, let me share this with you. Let me put this in a way that you can understand. And she was like, I get it. This connects with me. And there's also, in fact, a YouTube lady that does videos. Let me pull her up real quick and get her name for those that need it.
While you're looking for that, I wanted to read a poem that I found. It says, when God had made the earth and heaven, the flowers and the trees, he then made all the animals, the fish, the birds, and bees. And when at last he'd finished, not one was quite the same. He said, I'll walk this world of mine and give each one a name. And so he traveled far and wide, and everywhere he went, a little creature followed him until its strength was spent. When all were named upon the earth and in the sky and sea, the little creature said, Dear Lord, there's not one left for me. Kindly the Father said to him, I've left you to the end. I've turned my own name back to front and called you dog, my friend.
Oh, that's freaking beautiful. That is so beautiful.
I like that a lot. That is
There's
really
so many
nice.
There's so many different ways that you can elevate your animal. The lady on YouTube is Danielle McKinnon, and she's a medium. She's a pet medium. She connects with loss, animals that have transitioned over to the Rainbow Bridge. Why do we call it the Rainbow Bridge? Have you ever wondered that?
I just went with it.
I did too. And I have, do you know Shishi?
I never questioned it.
I don't. I just assumed that must be what it looks like for them.
And that could be
That sounds
interesting.
friendly.
Maybe so. Maybe so. But this woman is a pet psychic, and she connects. So she did a ton of videos with losing your familiars, with losing your pets, what it's like in heaven for them. What does it feel like when the soul leaves the body? And this was so interesting to me. At first, I didn't want to watch it, but then I ended up watching it. And she said the soul pushes out of their bum. And I kept going, that's so weird.
Yeah.
That's strange. But when I replay how Yoda died, he looked at me, he stretched, he raised his bum, and then he did one final and took his breath. So her video, I feel like, was right, because it was like the soul leaving its body. Like I physically felt the energy, because it felt like it went through me. Of course, my heart was just like, but it was one of those things where there's so many different aspects to pet transitions that we don't understand. And this woman kind of breaks them down, which I'm sure there are other ones on YouTube. But if you are going through this, if you're going through a pet transition, reach out to these videos, because I think it'll help give you some type of clarity. A lot of times I can say, I understand. I'm sorry for your loss. We've been saying that in 2020 so much. It's almost to the point where it's like I can't even tell people that anymore. It's just like I just send you love. But I think for a lot of us, if you're going through transitions, and for a lot of you that are diviners, be prepared that this may be something that somebody comes to you and ask, can you help me connect with this, with my transitional, with my baby who has crossed over, my fur baby? Because a lot of people in 2020 lost their babies. A lot of people in 2021, unfortunately, are going to lose their babies because we're not done with the purge. No. So it's been really rough. I don't know if either one of you have something to add to that, or
I was thinking that that would be a time to show the wall of the people.
you want to show it?
Yeah.
Can we move it over there?
Yeah.
So Yoda had a particular area that I had already put to the side for him, not anticipating his death, but it's so weird, and I have to share this. About a month and a half before he died, I was pulling my cards, and the Norman, the dog, normally means friend,
Loyalty.
loyalty. So I saw the dog in the coffin, and then the garden, which means that I had a friend that was going to be moving on. Which to me, I had lost about 7 people in 2020 already. So I was like, oh my God, I got another person that I'm going to have to let go of and go to their funeral. And for a split second, I looked at the dog card and I was like, okay, who could it be? And I didn't want to see it, Yoda. I didn't want to see it to be him. But I remember the weeks leading up to his death, every time he would go outside, I would always get this little ugh. Like if I heard a car or something coming by, I'm like, I'm checking, is he in the yard? He's in the yard. Spirit was preparing me for his transition, and I refused to see it because I didn't want to. Um, so I replayed so many times. If I had not let him go in the front yard and use the bathroom, could I have saved him? I think thankfully I didn't allow myself to see it because I wouldn't have let him enjoy his last few days of life, because I would have been trying to keep him in the house, keep him pent up because of the fear that something was going to happen. But Spirit gave me the warning. They told me that I was going to be losing my best friend, and I felt it. And a lot of people that I've talked to afterwards goes, I knew that my baby was going to die. I knew that they were going to transition. I dreamt about it. I felt it before it happened. So for a lot of you that are going through that, it definitely is real, and I can attest to it. The day that I let him out, it was beautiful. I was getting ready for work. It was a beautiful day. He woke up. He was playing. We kiss. We rub in the bed because that was our ritual. And then I would let him out in the front. He'd go use the bathroom and come back in. He went out, and I felt like I needed to check on him because I'm like, it's taking him a little bit longer to use the restroom. But I felt like, okay, I hear the other dogs barking. The lady across the street has chihuahuas. So I was like, sometimes they'll come over in our yard and play with Yoda. Sometimes he'll go across the street and play with them. Then I heard this like sound I had never heard before. And I immediately dropped everything and ran to the front door because I knew something was wrong with him. And when I went to the door, there were 2 pit bulls. And I didn't even think. I pushed them back and I got in front of Yoda and I scooped them up. And to be honest, it probably was not the smartest thing for me to do, because if they were aggressive, they could have ripped me apart. They could have tore my arm off. It was 2 big pit bulls. And I don't want to say this to say that pit bulls are bad dogs. They're not.
2 big dogs.
2 big dogs. So I don't want to say that, because they were very well taken care of. I think what happened was they got out of a yard and they made it to our house. They didn't attack Yoda, but I think the idea that he could have been attacked by them was too much for his heart, because as soon as I picked him up, he passed out in my arms and he pulled himself back together long enough to look at me and to try to breathe. And there's so much guilt. And I don't know, Ashley, you and I talked about this. Did I do the best for my animal? Did I take him to the vet when I was supposed to? Could I have done something differently? Should I put him in the backyard? There's all woulda, coulda, shoulda. But listening to this woman, Danielle McKinnon, I realized with familiars, their time is already set.
I that's what I was telling you too. I really believe that every living being, people and animals.
Yeah.
Because we did grow up in the church, and so I believe that God knows exactly the time we're going to be born and the exact time we're going to die.
Yeah.
So when she explained what happened to me, she's like, well, I should have done something different. I could have done something. And I was like, Tonya, it was his time. But what Tonya did was she made it could have been a lot worse. His time of passing could have been a lot worse.
It's true.
But he was in your arms exactly where he
He
wanted
was
to
in my
be.
arms when he took his last breath. You know, I thank my spirit so much for that, because had the dogs been aggressive, they could have bit him, they could have ripped him apart, they could have taken him somewhere else where I wouldn't have known what happened to him. But he made it to the front door and he looked at me. And when he looked at me, he let me know that it was okay. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for him to say, save me or do something. And when he relaxed, he let me know that it was okay to let him go. I didn't want to let him go. Um, you know, the human part of us that wants to fix things was like, oh, you know, do CPR, and Jazz was Googling. She was like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. And there was no time. And he literally, before he took his last breath, he looked at me and it was one of peace. And then he just let his head, you know, just drop to my arms. And it was the closure that I should have needed. And of course, I still struggle with it. I still struggle with it. I still see him the way he dies. And it's going to take me a while to move past that. But I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed that, honestly, a lot of the people that I loved in 2020, I was there to be there for their last breath. I don't know why my spirits are doing this to me, but it is an honor. It is an honor to help your familiar cross over. For those that even have to euthanize, because our familiars get to the point where they can no longer have a viable life. And all of us are going to have to get to that point where, because we just don't live forever, you know, that you're going to have to make that decision. And it's one of the hardest decisions you will ever make in your life. I've had a few animals that I had put down and I couldn't go in the room and do it. And now I'm a big proponent of, if you can, hold your baby, be there, stroke their head, give them kisses, let them know that it's okay to transition. One of the issues that I had with Yoda was when he crossed over, he didn't cross over.
Right.
That whole week I kept hearing him. I kept seeing little things that reminded me of him. I could hear him barking, and it was because I was crying and I couldn't sleep and I wasn't eating, and he was worried. He was worried about me.
That's your familiar. They won't leave you until they know. And even then, they still don't leave you.
True. True.
That brings. I had this other little poem here. Let me see. You'll meet me in the light. I know that you can't see me, but trust me, I'm right here. Although I'm up in heaven, my love for you stays near. So often I see you crying. Many times you call my name. I want so much to lick your face and ease some of your pain. I wish that I could make you see that heaven indeed is real. If you could see me run and play, how much better you would feel. But our loving God has promised me that when the time is right, you'll step out of the darkness and meet me in the light.
It's beautiful. I made a joke, and I'm not going to say a joke. I told a friend that when my time comes, um, he'll be there.
Absolutely, he will.
And he's going to help me cross over, which will make it easier for me. It'll make it easier because, of course, you know, it'll be somebody that I want to come to. And as many friends and family as that I've lost this year, he's with good company. I told Lynna that. Let's go show the ancestor altar. Y'all, when I first moved into this house, my ancestor altar was literally a white candle and a glass of water, which is all you need. That's the simplicity of an ancestor altar. You don't need a shrine. You don't need pictures. You don't need to know who all your ancestors are. You're elevating the ancestors that are willing to work with you. You're elevating the ancestors that you feel connected to. Not every ancestor that crosses over is going to want to come and be elevated. Not all of them are going to be good. So use your discernment whenever you call on your ancestors, because sometimes we get in this thing where we group everyone, and we have ancestors that may not have lived the best life, may not have been the best people, and you have a choice. You don't have to elevate those people, those energies. You don't. To me, an ancestor altar is a place of love. So when you look at mine,
don't put Uncle Chester the child molester up there.
yeah, we got to be careful with it. So let's move.
Say hi, Taylor.
Did you show?
Yes.
Can you move it over here?
Yeah, I'm pulling this cord.
Okay. All right. So you guys, when we first moved into the house, this altar was the ancestor altar. It had a candle and a glass of water on it, and then my grandmother's stuff and her rosaries and some other rosaries that I collected in Mexico for her. And then, of course, the glass of water. 2020 has created a major expansion. Couple of days ago, I put Yoda's shelf up and his pictures. So if you can see,
Let me actually, Shishi, I'm gonna make her bigger.
No problem.
We love you though.
we do love you.
Okay.
So we kind of expanded. It never was my intention to have an ancestor wall. It never was. But because I lost so many people that I love, I had to elevate them and give them their place. And a lot of them came with their own trinkets that they left to me. A lot of times, whenever I lose people or I know that they're getting close to transition, I ask them, do you want to be on my ancestor altar? Do you want to be elevated? Is there something that you want me to put? They give me what they want me to have, and I place it on the altar to represent them. If you have a loved one or someone that is crossing over or getting ready to transition, talk to them about that, because a lot of times they have particular things that they want you to use to be able to contact them or to be able to connect with them, and it makes it easier. Yoda's shelf, it took me an hour, over an hour, because part of me would.
Oops, you're not in there anymore.
Oh, it's okay. You don't even need to have me in there. Part of me was like, do I really want to put the shelf up? It was very emotional to put his pictures up, to get his stuff out, and it was emotional. Finally, I got it up. There's a particular thing that keeps falling off, and it could be because he doesn't want it on there, or that could be his way of letting me know that he's around. The other night, his lights were flickering like crazy on his altar. And normally when spirit comes to visit, you'll get like this colder rush of air, or if you pay attention to the candles, you'll get this flutter. And that's letting you know that, hey, I'm around, pay attention to me. So he's been doing that a lot. My son actually gave him a thing of whiskey. I don't know why.
Because he's a little badass.
Because maybe they shared whiskey privately that I didn't know about. I'm not sure what that is, but they could be pouring one out for the homie that my son is trying to do. I have no idea. I'm not going to ask questions. He wanted it to be there, so it's there. Jazz is probably going to do some extra things for it, but y'all, this is how we elevate.
Well, tell him about how you were going to do his separate.
Yeah. We were going to do his separate. I had a wall picked out with all his pictures and everything on it. And the ancestors said, no, we want him with us. And I was like, okay. Because I don't know why at the beginning I thought maybe he should be separate. And they were like, no, bring him over here. So we did. We expanded. Now, in fact, I was joking with my dad the other day, because a lot of you know that he already has been sick. He has stage 4 lung cancer. And I was like, I have no more room. I have no more room on my wall. And we were laughing about it. But it's one of those things that when the ancestors come through and they say, we want or we need, it's because they need it to work. They need it to So for whatever reason, Ashley said Mika's just coming in the mail in a few days. It's because they need, either they can protect him or they can help him better with his transition, or vice versa. So it was really important that I add him or include him to the wall. And in fact, when Lynna came in today, and brought him, I knew exactly what his space was, because I had already cleared it for him. Um, but when you elevate your familiar or your loved one, you want to give reverence to them as much as possible, which means for me every week. Every Monday is my ancestor day, where I clean my altar, I refill my water, I redo my candles. A lot of times I will do fresh flowers. Some of them have flowers that come from their funerals, or their memorials, that I include up here. When we do an ancestor altar, a lot of people say, oh, don't put dead flowers on your altars. It can work with an ancestor altar, especially if it's a momentum from a funeral or something you've taken away from their grave. Fresh flowers too, if you want. It doesn't affect it. But utilize what you have and what you feel connected to that spirit with. You know, I hope for a lot of you that you find peace if you have lost a familiar. That this will be something that helps whenever I pass by here, even though Yoda's physically not here. It makes me feel good that in his transition, I'm still elevating. I'm still taking care of him. I'm still loving him. He has a doggy bowl. I still, not Thanksgiving, December, he loves turkey. So I brought turkey back and I put it in his bowl for him. There's certain foods that I eat that I would give him the bones. So when I order those foods, I still put those things in his bowl, because that's important to me, that he knows that he's still a part of the family. So I hope this helps. Um, I don't know. Should we just go ahead and put him on his place?
If you want to.
Let me go ahead. Let's go ahead and put him, because I feel like we're talking about it. Let me go behind you. Let me see. All righty. Oh my gosh, you guys. Y'all don't even know. I did not think I would be doing this early. Um, I was blessed. Um, y'all know how much I love him. I was really blessed to have a familiar that was so protective of me. You could not get near me. He wouldn't let you sit next to me. If you were sitting next to me, he'd come get in the middle. If you were the few people who have spent the night at my house and slept in my bed
right
with
in the
me,
middle.
he would get right in the middle. He could not stand for anybody to take his place. He was like the number one in the household, and he was the smallest thing in the household. But this was what he did. He was protective of me. And at the end, I was protective of him. And so I feel like that we had a very reciprocated, unconditional love. And for him to come home, this means everything for me to be able to do this for him. And I'm just grateful to put his place in. I'm not going to cry anymore, you guys. I'm not going to cry anymore, because I'm happy.
Cry if you need to. Honor where you are.
I'm happy. And I'm so humbled and honored that he chose me as his person. Could have been with anyone else. And he chose to make us his family, Jazz and Jordan, and we loved him, and he was spoiled rotten. You guys, if I tell you rotten is not even the word for it. Lynna would bring this dog. She would go by Starbucks and get pup cups, and then go to Jack in the Box and get patties for him to eat. People would come over here and give Yoda because they were trying to win him over.
Exactly.
They were trying to win him over. He was like, bitch, I'm on to you. He would take the gifts. He would take everything that you brought him and still have an attitude with you. still would bite you, still would bark at you, would do everything. But it was just the whole idea. And I used to laugh at him like, be nice. Be nice to the people. And he would fluff his tail up and keep going. He was a rare freaking breed. So I am so blessed and I'm so honored. We loved him. We love him. So for a lot of you that are, and Alexandra came over too. Alexandra, you remember when you were over here? I had to put him in a different room because he would just like bark. We actually had to cage him a couple of times. Um, it was one of those things where he actually, I think he liked people to a degree, but I think he was.
Can we go sit down?
Yeah, I'll go. Yes, baby, your arms. But he was very protective. He's very. Look, I got a glimpse of the voodoo altars too.
Oops.
Oh, am I standing on?
Yeah, you're fine.
There we go. Where is your chair? Did you just move it to the side?
Yes, so that you could get out.
So it was one of those things where I think for a lot of people, a lot of you don't know. I open up my doors a lot to family and friends. If you're in town and you need a place to stay, I'm like, oh, don't go stay at a hotel. Come stay with me. And I do the same thing for animals. It's like if they're out there, they need to be fed or whatever. I'm like, okay, let me put food out, and then I end up with a yard full of cats. That's just the way I am. My door is always open. So for those that had the pleasure of coming to my house and meeting Yoda, for people who are my Facebook friends that always saw him in the background, that sent love and you prayed for me, you prayed for him, you lit candles for him. I am so appreciative of you guys. I really am. It means so much to me.
Oh, let's put Shishi.
That you guys, love him as much as I loved him. And I mean, Shishi knows. There's been many conversations where Yoda would be in the background and then Sophie would be behind her. And so I get it. That bond is just amazing. It's amazing. Shishi, do you want to talk any more else about familiars and connections? Because I know from the spiritual aspect, like you said, Sophie comes to teach you. I know she comes to teach you because it's shown that, which I think what makes it so hard. Do you believe that our familiars come back, or do you think that they just send us new familiars?
I think it's multiple. I think sometimes we have gained all we can from certain familiars and they move on to assist others, but they still keep us, in the queue, so to say. We have multiple familiars over our lifetimes, not just one. You have voodoo now. He's one of them.
Yeah, he definitely, because he came out of nowhere too.
Originally, I had just Sophie, and Hannah was just a kitty. And then all of a sudden, Hannah, somewhere along the line, became a familiar and protecting my head when I slept and my feet. And so they formed this bond. So I definitely feel like the stronger of the familiars, or at least the stronger of the witches, is definitely Sophie. And Hannah still has her strength, but she's more of a healer, empath, protector. So I do think over time we have more than one familiar. I do think that even though our familiars, as they move forward, they don't leave us, but they do sometimes have to go and assist others, because what we've learned from them, our path with them has been completed in a sense. They're not gone, but our knowledge and learning from them has been completed.
Yeah.
And so, for many people, the familiars in the older days, they were not cats. They were actually rats and frogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then even further back than that, when you had to have a familiar, you had to feed them your blood. It was a pact. So the familiars, depending on what your practices, have definitely A, changed over time, but B, have expanded. So I think some people don't want to admit that they have familiars. It can be scary for them to think they have a connection with an animal, being the way they have a connection. Some people, they feel like they don't get a familiar because they expect a familiar to be a certain way. Like, I think for me, I need my familiars to be fuzzy. I cannot have a reptilian or frog
Yeah.
or rat
Well,
familiar.
someone has that lizard, Bob.
Iguana?
Iguana, okay. But turns out Bob's a girl.
Oh, did they just figure that out?
Not long ago, yes.
Ah,
But we thought Leaf was a boy.
oh, that's true. Well, Shishi's right though, because I think somebody on here said they had a hamster.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Chub.
multiple people that have snakes that would be,
I'm not
I couldn't, yeah, would
And
not work for
spiders.
me. So I think they know too that when they come into your life, they need to take a certain form or there will be no connection. Because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. But it's very interesting that a lot of people didn't know, like you said, that frogs and mice and things were familiars before. Um, there's a friend of mine that started feeding a rat, and now the rat comes around and I'm like, why are you doing that? You're gonna have like a ton of little rats out, because that would not be you. I don't do rodents,
Right?
but the rat brings him little food scrapes. They created this bond, so that's a familiar to him. So I will say, keep your mind open. Like she said, a lot of people don't want to think of it as a magical being. If you don't see it that way, okay, that's fine. But there is a connection where you learn. There's growth that happens. That Yoda made me better. He made me better. Even in his transition, it was like I was in the fog, and when he transitioned, it broke it. And I started cleaning and throwing things away that just were stagnant energy that I didn't do when he was alive. And it was like he broke something. And so I'm grateful for that. So I do see that there's magic there, whatever you want to call it.
Like a moment of clarity almost.
Yeah, there was definitely something that came in. Shishi, what would you suggest with people who have lost their familiar, but they want to contact or they want to keep that connection going? What would you suggest that they do?
Definitely alter. I mean, but I think also depending on how strong your connection is with the familiar and your connection, I mean, like the time that you spent with them, things like that, you actually are able just to speak to them. I know for one, my mom had a familiar, doesn't want to recognize her as her familiar, but she had a cat named Bianca. And Bianca walks around the house and knocks stuff over. She acts just like, she did in life. But I think, you need to, just like when with people, they come to you when you really need them. Some people, I think, it sounds horrible to me to say they want to just connect with them just to connect with them, like I want to pull in the spirit. But familiars are a little bit more stubborn, I think, than humans. So they come when you really need them. And if there's really a problem or you really need guidance, you can't just pull them out like you would maybe other spirits and say, hey, I'm reaching out for you because I want to do blah, 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 blah. They come when you need them because they're guides, they're practitioners, and they need to be where they need to be. They're workers.
Earlier, I know that.
It's true. I agree with that. I think people have to kind of come out of this thing where spirit works for you. That's not the way you don't light a candle and put something on your ancestor altar and say, bring me money. It doesn't work that way. It's a relationship that's cultivated. If you cultivated it in life, then when they transition, that's a continuation of that relationship. So I'm not going to ask anything of the ancestors that they don't want to do. With Yoda, I don't feel like I need to call on him or ask him.
No, because
he knows.
When I brought him here, the pipe started rattling and
then the lights flickered.
Yeah.
So as soon as she brought his ashes in, everything, and they flickered last night because I think he knew he was coming home, that the physical aspect of him was coming home. So when she did it, it was weird because she didn't have anything plugged up to the power source, and the lights were just like, and we both just looked. And then Lynna got that.
Whoa, and right before
Lynna got that caught in a ghost mode look like.
Well, because right before that, the pipes started rattling.
Yeah, the pipes just started boom, 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 like knocking, like pay attention, pay attention. So I will agree that when it's time for them to come in, they come in on their own. We elevate the ancestors not because we use them. We elevate them because we love them.
Honor.
And we honor them. Exactly. There is a freedom with spirit to help or not help. And a lot of times they have to back away because that's a lesson that you need to learn. So I will agree, don't ever, I had a friend, and Shishi knows this friend, and he goes, I can elevate Yoda into a hellhound. And I was thinking, he was already a hellhound in life. What possibly, I said, well, I was like, well, you know what? Let me talk to him first and see if he wants to be elevated. And Yoda was like, nah, I'm cool.
Yoda's probably like,
yeah, like I could do more damage as is. You know, with my 5 teeth, then I could do elevated.
I know. I think, you know, if Yoda had the power of a hellhound, it'd be a whole different ball game.
Oh, he had it. He would just. If he'd had the body of a hellhound, we'd have all been in trouble.
Oh, my haters, you guys. I ain't going to say I wasn't tempted to do it, but I couldn't do that to him. Because some of y'all, oh my God, y'all. He loves me. So anything that goes against me, you got a problem. And like I said, we don't need a bigger problem.
Oh,
we
no.
don't. He don't need to be juiced at all. At all. But it was
like
so
Yoda on steroids.
Exactly. But it was so kind of my friend because he's like, yeah, I can elevate him for you. I could do that for you. And I was like, no, let's not do it. So I think what she definitely is saying, altar, meditation, prayer, literally calling their name. What I noticed too that made me realize I was still connected to Yoda, I had put some things in my Amazon cart before Christmas that I was going to buy for him. And it was like Yoda t-shirts. They had a lot of Yoda memorabilia.
Oh, baby
Yoda stuff. And so I had put all this stuff in my cart and I forgot about it. And I got a reminder from Amazon, you have Yoda in your cart. And I was like, oh, because I wasn't expecting it. Especially Christmas memory stuff that came up with us holding him and stuff. So that was his way of saying, look, you guys, I'm still here. You know, it's different, but I'm still letting you know that I'm still here. So if you're dealing with that energy, grief is real, you guys. There's so many different aspects to it. Tyra, the book button.
It's in the description.
Yeah, it's in the description. And I think Facebook is doing something with my book page or whatever. So if you're trying to book a reading, this is not the place to do it. But I did put it in my messages to you. Because poor Tara's been like, I need a reading. I need a reading.
I sent her the link.
Yeah, you did. That's right. The link is in there. So babe,
check your
just click on it. Click on it and it'll take you to my booking page. And so I gotta figure out Facebook, well, that's a whole different thing. I digress. Don't get me started on Facebook. But for those that are dealing with these connections, I will say that whether you believe that a familiar is a magical person or an entity that comes in that helps you, elevates you, helps you navigate situations, be open to these connections.
And let yourself feel. Don't hold it in. Let yourself feel.
Yeah. Grief is really, especially with a familiar, my heart physically hurt. And anybody who knows pain, our brain registers pain, period. So when my heart started hurting, I started having chest pains, it was because my grief was so strong that I could feel it. It was like somebody stabbed me in my heart. So it was one of those things where I know people who have lost, like Alexandra is talking about her Sheba, Ashley with Mika. There's so many of us that went through this that we understand that grief, that pain of something that we've cared for, that has cared for us, and then having to, have that transition and be in that weird space with it. I'm still in a weird space. That's why I'm still crying. I love him. I know he loves me, but I'm still grieving.
I think, most of all, and I mean, a lot of people, it frustrates me. Don't let someone tell you that they're just a pet. It's just an animal.
Oh no, he's a member of the family. You
Yeah,
take
never.
them to the doctor, you dress them, you pick up their poop. I mean,
Yeah.
you do more for your animals than you do for your kids. I'm not picking up their poop.
I don't know. Taylor might need you to do it.
But I'm just, you make sure they're warm, they have, food and water all the time, and
She's
you
right,
build
though.
special houses for them. They're
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just on and on. Go ahead.
People try to minimize the importance of them because they're not human. But they're just as important to you or as important as a person. And sometimes, like Tanya said, they treat you better than the people that you know. So a lot of people have more connection with animals than they do human beings.
Absolutely.
So they're not.
The only thing they steal from you is your food.
True. And your heart.
Well, yeah. But
yeah,
they give you their heart in return, so it's not stealing your heart.
It's a switch off. It's true. I had a lot of people that came to me afterwards and go, "You're still crying over the dog." And we're no longer friends. Because if you just saw him as the dog, then you don't really know me. Anybody who's close to me knows that was my little heart. So when someone says the dog or, oh, you're still grieving, I haven't stopped grieving for a lot of people that passed in 2020. So it's a cumulative grief, but I'm going to grieve as long as I feel necessary. And I'm going to elevate Yoda because he was my family. He was my family. He was more. So she's right. Don't let people do that. Don't let people tend to, when they can't deal with things or understand things, they try to, I guess, simplify it. Or what is that word?
Discount it.
Discount it. Exactly. So she's absolutely right. That's why when people reached out to me and they were crying over their fur babies, I 100% understood. Because we a lot of us don't have that support system where you have friends that understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's important. Even when Shishi told me that she had to leave her babies behind, my heart was just like, what? Who? And the questions, who are they going to be with? Right. Is this person going to take care of them? Because I know that's her family. Those are her babies.
I think mine was WTF question mark?
Yeah, we all kind of were like, what? So we don't look at it as, oh, these are two cats. These are her babies. They mean something for her. Let me tell you one thing, and I've told people I've dated before. Yoda sleeps in the bed. When he was alive, he sleep. Oh shit, he's gonna be in the bed anyway. Yeah. Yoda sleeps in the bed. If you coming over here to get some booty, you're gonna have a chihuahua looking at you like this.
I was never trying to get booty.
Yeah, you never tried to get booty. But it was like he was like a kid. This is a package deal. And a lot of people get people that don't understand that when it comes to our animals, our familiars, who we love. The hamster, the snakes. I don't get it, but I'm going to be respectful.
Yeah.
I don't want to come over to your house and hold your snake. No. Because I'm scared of them. But I'm not going to discount that is a very real connection. Because anyone who takes an animal into their heart, into their homes, and you decide to take care of it, that is major. That's a commitment. For a lot of us, we're saying for the next 18, 15, whatever the lifespan on your fur baby or your reptile or whatever it is, you're committed.
Right, exactly. That's like the Taylor posted me right around Christmas that says, don't give animals as a Christmas gift. They're not. Yeah. You need to let that person, if they want an animal, to go get one because it is a 15-year commitment. It's not just something you can say, oh, and I'm not saying this to you because you are getting your babies, but you can't say, oh, I'm moving, I can't take them. Well, guess what? Tonya and I and Taylor all went to Portland right before the TP disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But my son couldn't go. And the reason my son couldn't go is because he had to stay home and take care of the animals.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, it's like you say, it's a commitment. It's family.
it is exactly. And so they're not something to dispose of. You can't just pull him out of the car or say, "Oh, I can't take him," and drop him off at a shelter or down the road or call a friend or give somebody. What if I brought over a dog right now to her? She'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Oh my God, girl, I wouldn't even open the door. I swear to God, I'd be like, you lost your fucking mind. I wouldn't even open the door.
Exactly my point. And so she'd be like, "I don't want this animal."
Yeah.
And then either I'd have to take it or find a home. Well, I wouldn't do that to my daughter or my son.
Which brings us to another point. And Shishi, I'm gonna let you finish right after this. Please, you guys, when someone loses a fur baby or their familiar, please don't be so quick to bring in another animal. We need time to grieve. We need time to heal. We need time to readjust. It's almost like having losing something and then trying to buy another vase because you broke a vase and you're trying to replace it because you're trying to fill that void. It's not that easy when we connect with people or animals. You can't just go in there and go, oh, somebody was telling me, oh, I know a lady who's selling chihuahuas, long-haired chihuahuas for a good price. I don't know. I feel like that's such, to me, a dishonor to him.
Oh, because you love him. Yoda is irreplaceable.
He is.
No one can ever take his place. Maybe, and this is a very, very big if and maybe, you ever get another one, it still will not take Yoda's place.
True.
It will be in addition to Yoda.
Right.
But it cannot take his place.
So please don't do that to people. Don't. And Ashley and I talked about this where she was like, her family was like, let's just get another dog. That's not going to solve. It's not going to fill that void. It's a temporary thing. When I see the little dogs across the street, the first thing it was so bad at the beginning was like, why wasn't it one of them? And that was so.
Yeah, but
it was so brutal to think that way, but it was honest.
I know. I said things like
it was
to
honest.
myself. I wouldn't say that to somebody else.
But that's what I thought. It was like, why couldn't it have been one of them and Yoda still be here? And that was part of my grief. And then sitting up here and somebody saying, oh, we're just going to bring a dog over to help you with that. No, don't do that to people. Don't feel like that's going to be something that fills that void. It will not. You're still going to grieve for your animal. And on top of your grief, now you have another animal that you have to potty train and put on the schedule. And it's going to be overwhelming. So if you have lost a familiar or, a pet that you love, take your time to heal, grieve. Shishi, go ahead, babe, because we cut you off and we know that it's getting late there. So we're gonna have to end it. But go ahead and talk.
Well, right before she goes, though, I do want to say we are, in 2021, we are moving Conjure Crew to Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time.
So we can have Shishi.
Exactly. So reset your schedules and put us in.
I am greatly appreciative of you guys, making that change for me. I really am grateful. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be on Conjure Crew. And Ollie was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to go. At 9 o'clock, I have to be on Conjure Crew. He was like,
he's probably like, what?
I know. He's in bed probably like, but I was going to say that having animals is very important. I know many people who get divorced and they have joint custody over their animals.
Oh, yeah. They fight over them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's very serious. So it's not a thing to be taken lightly. And I don't think people should give pets as gifts. Because I hate when I see the videos where there's dogs or cats just left out on the side of the road. And you're like, for what? Why would someone do that?
Yeah.
Not everybody is meant to have an animal.
Absolutely.
So, keep that in mind. I know, to kind of piggyback off what you said, I had a friend, her dog passed years back, but she often cries over him. But then she also wants to pet and love on animals. And I said, why don't you get another animal? Because she has that love in her heart. And so I wasn't trying to diminish the importance of her past but I see that she wants a pet, but then at the same time, she's like, no. So it's kind of like, she wanted to take Sophie and Hannah. She's like, can I borrow them? I was like, no.
Yeah.
You cannot borrow my cats. But you can get your own. But
She can go to a shelter and play with them if she wants. If she doesn't want to take on the
you could always
responsibility.
volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, every time I see a little corgi or a little what's the hot dog, but not the hot dog. What is it?
Oh,
It's the
Dotson dog.
Yeah, the Dotson. Well, no, not the Dotson. The one like from Fox and the Hound. Like the hound dog.
Like a beagle dog.
Yeah, the beagle. The beagle.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I often think
we
of.
both got there at the same time. We looked at each other and it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
We have to do this brain thing.
Yeah, she had a beagle, and they're a really cute little dog would try to howl. So, I often think of my friends, and I thought maybe I should get her a dog, but then I realized that might not work out in my favor if I were to get her a dog. And I realized that a lot of people get gifted animals, and they don't really want them, and then they're not in a place to have them. But I feel like when it's time for you, especially when it comes to practitioners, when it comes to your familiar, for the most part, the familiar finds you. And
absolutely
perfect timing, when you are in a place to have a familiar. So
I agree. And I want to tell everybody who reached out to me that, I appreciate you. For a lot of you reached out and I just wasn't in a place to respond at that time. I'm trying to catch up on messages where I am, responding and sending you guys love. There were so many people that volunteered their animals to me. Like, if you just want to come over and snuggle with my dog, you can. And I thought that was so strange at the beginning, but then I realized that was them saying, "Look, I'll share my fur baby with you," which I really appreciate. Because for those that have animals that would even allow that, because there's no way in hell Yoda would have snuggled with anybody.
Well, no, he was nice to me.
He did. He would come and sit in your lap and everything, and it was like,
as long as I don't pick him up, he has to be the one to come to me.
That's true. That's true. So thank you all, you guys, for sent me love and realized that he was more than just, the dog, or he was more than just the family pet, that he was somebody that we love dearly. So many compassionate people. It just really, it warms my heart. A lot of times, those who know that, with me, what you see is what you get. And, I'm always, to me, it's important to let people know that I love them and I appreciate them for things that they do for me. But just being there, just the words for grief, mean a lot. I'm just checking on you. Are you okay? Did you eat today? Are you all right? I really appreciate that, you guys. Y'all got me through a really hard week. Y'all really did. I didn't know if I could come back on and do my lives for a while, and it was just because I just couldn't with the energy. So I'm so really thankful for those that sent me love, sent me healing, Ricky, things that you did for me. I really appreciate you. And I just want you guys to know that everything that you did, everything that you said, it meant something to me. Especially you. She brought me, my little voodoo chips that I didn't need. She brought me Oreos and ice cream and things that I didn't need that literally just made my belly get bigger. But comfort foods, but I appreciate
don't forget
you.
about the macaroni and cheese.
Oh, macaroni and cheese. So she covered all the bases. Shishi, thank you so much. I love you, and you had words of wisdom and just, being there for me and always asking me what I need, especially in the middle of relocating. I will always appreciate, because I know you had so much going on. And that's the crazy thing with people. We tend to take for granted people that, they're going to do this stuff, but people have their own lives. Mm-hmm. They have their own thing. And for people to reach out and say that I'm here for you, let me check on you. It was major. It was like one of the best Christmas gifts, one of the best energies to go into the new year with. So I love you guys. Thank you so much.
We love you too.
And now,
we're
no more
help so
cheers.
many people. So
So go in there and snuggle with your husband, because I know he's like, where you at? And it's probably what, 10 o'clock in Germany?
yeah, about 10:30.
Okay. Well, we love you, babe. Please, please stay warm, because it looks like it's hella cold there.
It snowed a little bit today. I think it's going to snow a little bit on Wednesday. My parents came over and met the future in-laws, so that was interesting.
Oh, we got to catch up.
It's been an interesting day. And tomorrow I'm going to go chill with my family for a bit because he's going to go back to work. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we love you, and stay safe, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Yes.
See you next Sunday, and I'll check in on you guys.
All
Make sure
right.
you're not in any trouble.
Oh, we're gonna do trouble, but we'll see you anyway.
Maybe. Probably.
Bye.